the blizzard that is an awesome friend of the show, which is Anthony Perez. Anthony, I'm getting ready to bring you up, my friend. If you are ready, I cannot wait for the world to see you. Anthony Perez, welcome to Total Disruption, man. It is awesome to have you back. You're an awesome friend of the show, huge contributor, amazing man, amazing human being. It's awesome to have you here.
Well, it's always an honor to work, collaborate, partner with you guys. It's just amazing what you're doing, Total Disruption. And of course, I'm always in awe of the speakers that you have coming in. And what I love about it seems like the last one and this one, there's always this overlapping theme. And I know that the speakers aren't checking in with each other, say, well, what are you talking about? It just is, that's a God thing, right? So as I was listening to, of course, my friend Stephen Ramona, which I definitely want to share a story because it ties together, like Melissa was saying, stories, right? I believe examples always help tie together and reinforce what it is that you're teaching. But, when Stephen from Chris to Steve to Melissa, they all kind of tie together this common theme, which is always great. So.
Well, for those of you that don't know Anthony, right? Anthony's awesome. And Anthony is a Navy veteran. Thank you for your service. Entrepreneur, author, TEDx speaker, and a trainer, and yada, 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 yada. And, Anthony works with us with Battleground. He's one of our coaches. That is a coaching partner. Anthony, I've got so many questions for you today. It's ridiculous. And you're also an author of a book called Leading with a Servant's Heart. And that's what I really wanted to talk to you about. I wanted to kind of tee off this little back and forth. What is that? What is servant leadership? I mean, we talked with Steve, and then we talked with I'm not Leading with a Servant's Heart. Hold on. What's your book title again? Professional Durability. Right. We talked about Steve Ramona, so I'm on there. My fault. So professional durability, but you talk about servant leadership, right? So for those of you that are trying to follow along here, we'll talk about the thread that puts together, right? You got servant's heart, servant's leadership, and professional durability, right? What does that really mean? Like when, to lead and serve, and what are some examples of servant leadership? And tell me about that, please.
Well, I believe, right now, my talk was The Future of the Future is Servant Leadership. That was my TED Talk. And lately, my signature talk that I've been going around sharing has been Servant Leaders Are Developed in the Storm, right? And it kind of ties together my book, my philosophy about influence, why it's important, and how do you gain influence, and when you leverage it correctly, that it gets you to become not only a transformational leader, but a servant leader. An elementary definition, and this will be great. And I know that Stephen will appreciate this, and Melissa, as I was listening to them. I have a talk coming up, and I was just kind of going through some things, and I was going back through Greenleaf's book, A Servant Leadership. And the foreword, if you pick up that book and listen to it, is by Stephen Covey. And he shares a quote in there in an example, and I believe that this simple statement, for anyone that doesn't know and someone that does appreciate the idea of servant leadership, this simple statement will help you wrap your head around, like, okay, because when I've heard it before, but when I heard it again, I was like, because you're always at a different place when you hear something, right? You hear a song, and you're like, I never noticed that before. Oh, right. So here's the thing. One thing about moving in the direction of servant leadership and serving people and giving value, finding ways to continually give value, give, not receive, right? Just give, is asking yourself the right question, changing your mindset. Chris opened up and talked about, we hear it all the time. What's your why? What do I want? What do I want? And I could relate to that. There's sometimes when people ask me that, and I kind of struggle with it. I get the sweaty armpits, right? Like I don't have an exact answer. I don't know. Is there something wrong with me? I don't know. But I want you to try this out. Instead of saying, what do I want? We have to ask ourselves, what is wanted of me? And when I heard that, right, what is wanted of me? When I heard that, that resonated with me. Because for years, it's always been like, what do you want? I have a certain ability, a skill set to be able to connect with people, to relate with them. and then build those relationships and be able to connect other people to help them solve their problems, advance them. And I've done that for years. I just thought that's what people did. But now I realize, for me, that's my calling, right? Right. What is wanted of me? We all have certain skill sets. Melissa talked about it, right? Sunshine to Tombstones to Realizing Videos. And look at where that's her calling, right? I believe that we all have 3 career paths in our lives. The socially acceptable one, the one that you're just like, man, I'm all about making money. But then there's that last one that we all have to navigate through those first 2 tiers to get to that last one. And that's when you come to a realization, this is my God-given talent. This is my calling. This is what I'm supposed to do.
Well, I think I want you to write a book called Relationship Marketing. And I do. I've never seen anybody. I mean, I know that, Steve Ramona's touted as the master connector, but sometimes when you and I have sort of offline conversations, I'm always fascinated. I was telling Donnie to hit you up on this skill set, how to keep it all straight in your head on all these relationships, and then how you've created so much opportunity on this relationship marketing. And obviously our friend over across the way here, Jeff Ross, who's an amazing human being, love this man. He said he'll read the book. So do me a favor, man. I know it's a little bit outside of the box of what we're talking about, but let's talk about these relationships, and then let's talk about, when we're talking about relationships and how to create this thing with relationships, then we talk about that flip-flop between how to serve and lead in these relationships, right? So if you don't mind, Anthony, please empower us with how you do it. How do you create? I mean, you're always saying, I've created this relationship and then this happened. I've created that relationship and this happened. And this is just conversational. You and I aren't even talking about anything. And I'm sitting here going, damn, is this guy? I wish I had a microphone. I wish we were live. I wish we were on Disruption right now. It'd be radio gold. So talk to me a little bit, please. Enlighten us.
So I realized, there's a lot of times in life where I know Steve and I talked about it. In my book, I talk about superpowers. And he and I were chatting one day, getting to know each other. And that's when we realized, but I talked about superpowers, and that chapter opens up with a quote about Christopher Reeve talking about Superman. And in the conversation that I had with Steve, I talked about in that chapter, I said, I believe in society today, we need to be more focused on developing more Clark Kents than Superman. Okay? Right? Because Clark Kent that's who he is, right? That's trustworthy, integrity, accountability, just a good person, right? Good values. That's who he is. When shit goes sideways, he puts on the uniform, right? So for me, it was like, hey, I just was always wired to be a helper, right? As a little kid, and like, hey, and I just, somebody told me the other day, man, you're a dying breed, Anthony. You actually care about people, and it bothers you, like when things go wrong. I had to put out a fire this morning, and so I'll go through a couple things that work for me, right? That I feel that I share with people. Let's start with this: understanding actions over words. You want to be a servant? You want to be a person of influence? It's not good enough to know, I know this person, I'm a connector. Here's the thing. Do you have credibility in the eyes of those two people? Because if you don't have influence and credibility because they see you as somebody as trustworthy, that you could hold yourself accountable to what you say you're important, it's lackluster, right? If you want to really make that relationship work. So understanding actions over words. Right? Are you guilty as do as I say, or are you guilty as do as I do? Because, Michael, we're not evaluated on our words. We're evaluated and held accountable on our actions. Right?
Okay.
Right? It's not about we're held accountable on what we say. We're held accountable to what we say we're going to do. Right? That's the key. And accountability is very interesting. The genius of accountability is accountability to get the best out of it. for somebody is to understand that accountability shows up when you need it, not when you want it. Shake your head if you're with me. Right? There's a lot of people out there saying, hey, I want to be held accountable. Can you help me out? Be accountable. Hey, you know what? Okay, it's 4 a.m. Why aren't you going to the gym? That's what you said you did. Hey, you know what? That's your 4th drink. Why? Hey, I'm helping you out, right? Accountability comes when you need it, not when you want it. And the thing is, we need to really understand how important our actions are over words, right? Because that's what we're judged on. So if you want to create a strong platform, you want to be seen as a professional, valued, loved, right? Seen as somebody that's influential. You got to hold yourself accountable, your people accountable. You got to hold yourself accountable to things you say are important and instill that belief in those that you support and serve every day.
Well, I like that when you talk about this love and support and serve every day, what a tremendous amount of energy. I mean, like I'm sitting here just shaking my head, serving every day. Wow. I mean, that's a tremendous amount of output on you. And it says a lot to your character. And it just says a lot to where you're always leading with that. It's got to be so hard, especially for a person like yourself. I mean, I'm gonna blow a little sunshine here. You're a very influential individual. The first time I met you, we sat across the table from each other. I just instantly saw you. Like I was like, wow, this guy is super transparent, super positively confident in who he is and what he's doing without being overzealous, and super authentic. So how to keep yourself in the background and then throw yourself to the foreground as a speaker and as an author and as a coach. And that's just tremendous. You sound like you're very aligned with yourself. How can we expand a little bit on core values, right? And how someone can man, it's like seems like a lot of discipline you have and a lot of internal training. Can we talk a little bit more about that? Can you open that up a little bit? Just how do you stay the course? How do you stay in line here with your core values?
I think we all have certain values that we lead into, we identify with, right? It's like the idea of perfection, right?
Yeah.
We've all experienced perfection for moments in our lifetime. Perfect catch, perfect pitch, perfect presentation. But the thing about perfection is it's hard to maintain, right? Jordan said, hey, work towards good, you're good, work for great, and you'll achieve perfection, right? Hey, so the thing is, we all have certain values that we ideal and that we sometimes we got to really drill down that, hey, these are my 3 go-tos. And really, as Melissa was saying, really go deep on those, polish those up and really win in those areas and see how those 2 or 3 things affect our lives in all areas of our lives. You understand that good habits, bad habits, right? They affect, it's like a ripple effect, right? Sometimes people say, oh, well, I only do this here. I know I got to work on that, but we don't really understand how it can impact our lives in other areas. So what I'm saying is, for me, I always talk about influence. And I had a coach a couple of years ago when I was trying to get the book to the finish line. And he was like, hey, you know what, we all know, learn to be an influential person. You're always about, hey, be a person of influence, be a person of influence. And he asked me a simple question. Who's the most important person that you have to influence every day? Right? Ourselves. Right. We have to influence ourselves and remind ourselves. I was listening to what's his name, Dave Goggins. Is that right?
Yeah.
Right. And I've been tracking him because I just, he's just like, man, I'm a bad, And what I realize is sometimes we're taught, hey, you want to be humble, you want to downplay it. Oh, shucks. You don't want to be out, hey, man, look at me, right? And there's a time for that. When you're out there projecting outward and you're connecting and building relationships, you just do what you do. And you want to attract people and you want to be of value and want to be humble. And there's a certain time and place, right? But what I realize is sometimes in your quiet time, when it's just you, that's when we should influence ourselves and remind us, you know what? I'm a bad mother. You know what? I did this. You know what? I deserve this. Sometimes we get caught up with being like not celebrating our wins and who we are like we should. And if you don't have, like Melissa said, if you don't have the right people around you that are constantly blowing wind into your sails and celebrating you and reminding you, hey, man, you built those businesses. Hey, you did this. Hey, you know what? Hey, it was a bad day, but you look at where you're going. And because we could get off track, right? And buy in. Who are you buying into, right? What are you listening to? You know, and that brings me to another point. You know, who are you listening and lifting up? Right? If you're constantly known for listening to people, right? Like Steve was talking about, you know, listening, observing, reflecting, right? And then taking action in whatever capacity it is. Is it offering support? Is it offering comfort? Is it offering solutions? Right? Is it asking permission? Right? So are you listening and lifting up others? And quite honestly, it's about starting with yourself again, right?
So based on what you were just talking about, and we're going to give the audience some shortcuts here. You know, Steve has the ALA principle, you know, always ask at the end, what is your version of that? In other words, how do you flip the switch from, you know, maybe we'll talk about, you know, a culture statement or something like that, but like, let's wait for that one for a second. How do you flip the switch between the support ask thing? How do you do that? At what point do you say, all right, it's time for me now to get something out of this relationship?
I learned early on, a lot of people don't, you know, it's a case of, are you a short game or long game, right? You got to constantly be giving value to people, right? So a lot of times people are like, how'd you get that contract? How'd you get that? How'd you do that? I don't know, for 10 years, I built a relationship with that person. In other arenas, that's why I always tell people, get involved in your community. I sit on boards, right? Here's a perfect example. I'm talking with my friend, our friend, Will, from Sharing the Credit.
Yep.
He's like, hey, man, we want to look at doing state, but we're doing this, we're doing that, bam, bam, boo, boo. If you could do this and you could do that, I go, hey, you know what? I got something for you. I'm on my way to Pueblo to go meet the mayor in Pueblo and the leadership with the Red Cross, with my executive director, because I sit on the board. And we're talking about all the good things that we're doing in Pueblo. And I said, I got an idea. So I talked to my executive director. I go, Phil, hey, I need to sit down with you. I got a great opportunity, great program, Sharing the Credit. I think it'll be great for you. But here, more importantly, I need a favor. I need a meeting with the mayor. I need a meeting with the governor. He's like, oh, of course, amigo. Let's have coffee. Let's figure that out. It's a phone call away. I was just with them last week. I've known Phil for 10 years. I've worked with him doing speaking, training for him, for professional athletes for his company. I sit on a board with them, right? Where are you investing your time? Sometimes people go, I don't have time to do all that. I beg to differ, right? So when you're investing time on boards, community works, that's where you get access to the leaders that you want to connect with. And they get to see you for who you are, what you care about, how you support people, how you support your community. You get to share ideas. You get to throw things up on the wall. You get it's genuine, right? It's not transactional. You're there. You're both two people. Strip away their titles and everything. You're two people that are very passionate about this project that you're working towards, right? And you get access to that person, and that relationship, right?
Taking some notes here, yeah.
Never goes away. So after you do that and you establish yourself and people find out about the value, right, that you bring.
Okay.
Well, then yeah, there's a time like, hey, you know what? Let me ask you a question. Hey, I'm working on this, or I got this program, or hey, can I introduce you to somebody, or I'm looking for this. I need a favor. Hey, I need a favor. I got a friend, Mark. He's with our program. He's got an amazing program, I-68. I want to introduce you because I think you two should get connected, right? And that's how. So as we wrap up, because I see Jake, here's a quick little example.
See Jakey start running. See it.
Right. Here's a quick. I'm on your last show. Stephen, Ramona, and I connect. We talk. We have a conversation. We share ideas, and it was lovely. But then he said one thing. Hey, Anthony, it's great. Let's get back together. Let's get you on the show. I got to get to another call. My friend who's we're working on a project with Hempcrete. I said, whoa, Hempcrete? He goes, you know about it? Yeah, I had a couple people 3 years ago introduce me about it. We weren't ready as a state. They weren't ready. What do you know? Hey, well, we started talking. I go, I got a guy. I bring this guy, Sean McKee, into the program. Sean's got a big development down in Pueblo. Wants to put some ADU homes in there, right? Makes sense to Sean. He also has a farm the guy wants to sell. There's a hemp farm that he closed. Okay. Now Sean's got the development. Steve's interested in it. Steve wants to bring solar into it. Okay. Right? Now, here's the thing. There's always going to be some kind of way that it benefits everybody, right? But check this out. While that's all going, Sean has to make some deliverables to Steve. As I'm talking with Sean, the developer, I go, hey, man, you want me to connect you to a couple people like Shaffa? Talk about tax credits and what we could get for this project. He goes, I would love that. Well, I was speaking at an event. I ran into a young lady that I used to have a relationship with for Colorado Housing Finance a couple years ago, and we were working on doing some things. We ran into each other. So I emailed her. Hey, Caroline, I'd like to introduce you to Sean because he's working on this project, and he wants to learn about this. Hey, by the way, I included my media kit because I'm looking for new speaking and training opportunities. I'd love for you to review it and share it with anybody that you know might be interested in talking with me. It was just like, for some reason I said, why not? Because I was in my zone of calling people, right? Doing my numbers. Don't you know she sends it to HR? The HR person calls me and goes, hey, we're doing another leadership symposium. We got 3 speakers. I want you to be one of them. Our budget's $10,000. Would you come up and speak with us for the day?
Yes.
Right? Like, okay, so, right? Now, at no time I was like, what's in it for me? There's so many people who are like, oh, I'm a connector. Are you? Are you? Right? What are you more motivated about? What you get or what you do? Right? Because I told you guys before, it's about who are you to your community. No one really cares about what you do. They want to know about who you are. And once they buy into who you are, you're a good person. You're a servant. You're trustworthy. Okay. Now, just like Steve said, I went out with my wife, but on the first date, just to see, is this a person that do we vibe? Right? Who are you? Right? What? Right? And then once that goes, now it's like, okay, I like this person. We could sync up. Okay, we match in values and everything. All right, now tell me, what do you do? What lights you on fire? What are you passionate about? Ooh, wow, we could get together on that. Now we could talk about collaborating and working together and doing business together. That's how I see it. That's what's been working for me.
That's unbelievable. I mean, if anybody ever, not that anyone would really want to, but this is a typical over-the-shoulder conversation between Anthony and I. This is just him and I just talking. This is a random Thursday afternoon phone call. That's what I'm telling you, man. You have to somehow do some sort of schematic or write a book. I'm always blown away by that skill set. I gotta tell you, man, it's a subset superpower of yours is how to figure that shit out. It's amazing to me. And I mean, Anthony Perez, I can't thank you enough for your time here at Disruption. How do people get a hold of you? What's your handles here? You have social media somewhere or?
Yeah, easiest is LinkedIn. My email, I don't know if you have it there. It's aperez@successisalanguage.com, but LinkedIn's the best. It's the easiest.
All right.
You can find my TED Talk. Just Google servant leadership and TED Talk. Anthony Perez, you'll find it. Trying to break 200,000. So.
All right, let's go.
Share it with the family this weekend. Twice.
Let's get Anthony Perez there. Talk about the ask and the give, man. Thank you so much, Anthony. It's always amazing having you on Disruption. We love you so much, and I can't thank you enough for those wisdom bombs you dropped today. I just I learn something from you every time we communicate. And those of you that are out there in the world that need some help, Anthony Perez is definitely a great resource. Thank you, Anthony. We'll see you back in this soon.
Appreciate you.
Thanks, man.
Hey, man.